Hello, Miss Turner. I'm Cameron Stuckey. I'm going to be presenting my formal report to you today. It is about epilepsy, and that happens to be something that I'm very passionate about. My mom has epilepsy. She was diagnosed about 20 years ago, right around the time that I was born. So it's affected her life in a great way, and she's an amazing person, and she has come a very long way since she was diagnosed. She owns her own business and she raised two kids. But it's something that she struggles with. So I'm very passionate about it, and I want to be able to talk about it and let people know what it's about and who it affects. And this report that I wrote will kind of give you a little overview of different areas that epilepsy affects, such as the population. Um, are there treatments available for epilepsy? I will discuss those. And what are some safety tips that you as an individual can use to your advantage in case you happen to see someone who has a seizure? The first thing I'd like to talk about is the population. Millions of people in the United States are affected by epilepsy, approximately 3 million people to be exact. It is the third most common neurological disorder, and its incidence is highest in those under the age of 2 and over the age of 65. Now, of course, it affects everyone in between, and the likelihood that you are going to see someone have a seizure is very high. Um, 1 in 10 adults will have a seizure in their lifetime. Um, and there are approximately 45,000 children under the age of 15 that develop epilepsy each year. Many children have a seizure in school, and students and teachers and even nurses sometimes don't even know what it is that they're supposed to do in that situation. So spreading the word is very, very important. Um, Now, as far as treatments go, there are a lot of treatments, and some are very, very successful. The most common type is medication. About 75% of people who have epilepsy can completely control their seizures by medication. That's the beauty of it. Unfortunately, there's that 25% that medication does not help. My mom happened to be one of them. She's been on about 8 to 10 different kinds of epilepsy medication, and none of them have stopped her seizures. And many of them had very bad side effects that would make her sick. And it's been a struggle for her to find the right medication. But there are other options. So, as the form of treatment goes, there's special diets. Now, there's something called the ketogenic diet, which is more common to be used for children. It seems to help children more than it would help an adult. Um, Basically, it's a diet that's high in fats and very low in carbohydrates. Um, Many adults have found success in different forms of dieting. The ketogenic diet not isn't exactly what it would be called for them, but some people find that lowering their intake of caffeine and artificial sugars have been very successful. And it's very important to get a lot of sleep. That has also been shown to be something that is very helpful. There's surgeries that can be done as well. A very popular surgery that is out now is called the vagus nerve stimulation. The vagus nerve is located in our brain, and studies have shown that stimulation of the nerve can help reduce seizures by up to 40%. A device just like a pacemaker for your heart almost is placed in your chest, and a wire is placed under the skin connected to the vagus nerve, and it sends electrical impulses every so often that triggers your nerve and hopefully helps reduce seizures. A lot of people are um, having seizures in one location of the brain, so that is something, the vagus nerve stimulation is something that would be very helpful for them. There are some people, though, like my mom, for example, who have what's called generalized epilepsy, which means the seizures are all over her brain, and it's a lot harder to pinpoint how to stop them, since they don't know where they could come from next. It could be, in this part of the brain and then in this part of the brain, and it's very hard to determine how to stop that seizure. So unfortunately, there are some people that still suffer from seizures and have not found a way to reduce them or handle them. My mom, I like to use her as an example because I know her epilepsy so well. She has a couple seizures a month. It's greatly reduced. She makes sure she does make sure that she gets a lot of sleep, and she reduces her caffeine intake, and she does not take in artificial sugars, and she feels that has helped her a lot. The next thing I would like to talk about, though, with that being said, is safety. Because someone can have a seizure at any time and it may not be controlled, they may not have it controlled by medication or anything else, it's very important to know what to do if you see someone who is having a seizure. There's lots of different types of seizures, over 40 different types, and some don't require first aid, but the one that most people think of most often when they think of a seizure is the one where you fall on the ground and you convulse, and your muscles get tense, and maybe their eyes roll in the back of their head, and they may spit, they may bleed out of their mouth. Oftentimes they can bite their cheeks or bite their tongue. Those are what most people focus on as being the type of seizure that they would recognize. So I'm going to explain some first aid tips on what to do if you do see someone have this kind of seizure. Now, this kind of seizure is called a generalized tonic-clonic seizure. Used to be called a grand mal seizure. That might be something that you've heard before. First of all, most importantly, is just stay calm. Move any objects out of the way that may hurt the person who is having the seizure. You don't want to have them convulsing on top of things that may hurt them. Position the person on their side. Do not hold them down, but putting them on their side will open their airway. It will. Some people may hear the stigmatism about swallowing the tongue, that people who have a seizure can swallow their tongue. That is physically impossible. You cannot swallow your tongue, but the tongue can kind of fall to the back of the throat and causing it makes it harder for you to breathe. So turning them on their side is very important. It opens the airway. The next thing to do is time the seizure. Most seizures only last a few seconds to maybe a few minutes. But if a seizure it lasts more than 5 minutes, they could be in what is called status epilepticus, which is a constant seizure that the only way for them to come out of it is through medical treatment. It's very important that if that seizure is lasting more than 5 minutes, that you need to call an ambulance, you need to get them to the hospital right away. People can die from that. So that's very important to time the seizure. Once the person comes out of the seizure, they're going to be very disoriented. They're not going to know where they're at. They're not going to know what they're doing. They may not even at first know their name or be able to recognize people around them. The first thing you want to do is just offer them reassurance. Let them know that they're fine and you're here for them and you're going to take care of them, and offer them a chance to rest. They're going to be very, very physically exhausted in that situation, so it's important to go ahead and let them rest. I hope that this report was helpful in understanding epilepsy and the impact it has on the American population. It is very very prevalent, and I think people really need to be aware of it. Um, just as an overview, in conclusion to my report, the impact of epilepsy is that it affects millions of people. There are over 200,000 new cases every year. 1 in 10 adults will have a seizure in their lifetime, so you may see someone have a seizure someday, or you may be the one that has the seizure. So it's important to know that there are safety tips and first aid steps to follow to help someone in need having a seizure, and also to know that this disorder does not have to rule someone's life. Yes, it's inconvenient. Yes, it can be scary. Yes, they can get hurt, but they can live a normal life, and you want to be supportive of someone who has epilepsy. By looking at them, you may never even know that they have a seizure disorder. Um, Based on the data that I collected, it's very clear to me that people need to be educated about epilepsy. Not many people really know what it is or how to handle it, and that's a huge problem considering that it is affecting so many people in the United States. So what I hope and I recommend is that call your local epilepsy foundation, get some brochures, surf the web, find out some information, join they have lots of fundraisers every year. Join some fundraisers, get out there, get to know some people who have epilepsy so that you can become more educated about the disorder. Thank you. I hope that you enjoyed my paper, and I hope that you enjoyed my presentation.